I know from personal experiences that many of these tips will be challenging to introduce. And once you've introduced them and you're living them, some of them will be quite painful. You will want to spend more money. You will want to break some of your rules, but they will be worth it in the end. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, the Frugal. In my last video, I discussed reasons why we might fall into the overspending trap. So today I want to jump straight into things that we can do to break the overspending cycle and get out of that habit. If you've watched any of my other videos, then you will know that I believe that mindset is the key to designing your life. So with that in mind, this video will be split into two sections. Section 1 will be on mindset changes, vision and goal setting. And then section 2 will be on the tangible things that you can do to stop overspending today. So if you want to jump directly to section 2, those tangible changes, I will put a timestamp in at the bottom here so you can go straight there. Okay, let's get into this video. The first thing that I recommend if you want to successfully break an overspending habit is to set out the vision of your life. This is the time to determine genuinely what it is you want your life to look like, what you are hoping to achieve. The vision shouldn't be something lofty like, oh, I just want to be rich. No, instead you should look at the detail of what you want. Do you want to buy a house by a certain age? Do you want to have children? Do you want to retire when you're 50? Admit it to yourself, because now we have a target to chase. I believe that a vision of your life can act as an anchor, which doesn't keep us rigid, but instead keeps us on our course as we're moving forward. Whenever we have a bit of a blip, or whenever we're juggling a decision and we're trying to work out if it serves our greater purpose or not, we have something on the horizon that we know we are trying to get to. It gives us the reason why we willingly defer gratification for that thing that is so much more important to us. It keeps us focused. The second thing I recommend is probably an obvious one, but I have to say it, and that is go back and watch part 1 of this video on the 9 reasons why you might be overspending today, and use the video to help you understand why you might be overspending. After you watch the video, think about your triggers. Are you bored? Do you feel like you deserve a treat? Are you down? Do you just need a pick-me-up? How do you feel just before you go into a spending binge? When the ancient Greeks said know thyself, they were definitely onto something. If you can understand your triggers, the feelings and actions that lead to you overspending in an unhealthy and unproductive way, it will help you to eventually break those habits, because we can find ways to mitigate against those feelings and actions. We can put protections in place, or it can give you the awareness to catch yourself because you have identified what your inevitable pattern of behavior is. 3 is a big one, and that is to determine what your principles and values are. In the first video, I talked at length about conformity and how it is driving us to perform and thus spend in line with everybody else. So I would say that if spending money to keep up with those around you is a problem for you, this step is key. So in a journal or your notes app, write a list of the things that have made you happy or proud in your life. When were the instances where you felt most powerful, elated, or content? What behaviors in yourself or in others do you hold in high esteem? Use this session to get below the surface of who you are. What matters to you? What do you care about outside of your possessions or paid activities? So the reason for doing this is because we want to bring our money habits in alignment with our life values. Because once we have alignment here, we tend to be more intentional with our money habits. So the 4th thing here that I recommend is identify somebody that you trust that you can talk to. Now this will help two sets of people because I don't want to put everybody in the same pot. If you have identified in yourself that you have anxiety around money, depression, or low self-esteem, I highly recommend opening up to a friend, a family member, or a professional to really discuss how you are feeling and where your behavior has come from, what the root cause of your emotional turmoil genuinely is. Being able to open up about how you feel and how that affects your financial situation may relieve some pressure and remove feelings of shame and guilt, giving you the headspace to actually tackle the problem and potentially the bigger problems in your life and your inner world, allowing you to move into the rest of your life with a lot more freedom and clarity. On the flip side of this, if you're not comfortable opening up about how you're feeling, or if actually you're not spending money because of any mental health triggers, you may just want to find a financially savvy friend who can get you on track and show you that life can be incredibly fulfilling even while you're living a frugal lifestyle. No matter the reason why you may need a buddy, having somebody to help you draw up a budget, provide an ear to you so that whenever you have been triggered and you want to spend money, you can pick up the phone and you can call your friend, your family member, or a professional to talk through your feelings and walk you back from that ledge and help you break the habit in that moment really useful. And if they are a friend, they can be your social frugal buddy. They can be the person that you turn to when you want to socialize, but they know that you are not spending money, that you are intentionally cutting back. They can help come up with free and fun activities, or if you are out, they can provide you with moral support when you are turning down that next drink, or when you're not ordering a starter and dessert, whatever it may be. Definitely worth having a buddy. Just a note here, we must not ask our buddy for money to cover a shortfall, for a loan for however long or short. They are our accountability buddy and they're here to make us feel normal, but they are not here to get us out of the hole. So just please bear that in mind. Okay, let's get into the tangible things that will help you break your spending habit today. So the first thing that you need to do here is set a budget or improve an existing budget. Now, a mistake that a lot of people make when they are budgeting is to go completely cold turkey when they're trying to reorder and reorganize their spending. If you build a budget where you completely cut out the things that you enjoy, initially you may be able to get on with it, but eventually it will lead to you overspending and splurging because you've had enough of the discipline. So what I recommend instead is that for the first few months, build in a line item in your budget for the thing you enjoy. So if you do enjoy buying clothes, you can possibly put in £50 a month, £100 a month for clothing. Now, what I say is if it's in your budget, it's not overspending. It's only overspending if you spend a penny more than what you assigned for that thing in your budget. Keep that in mind. So I've made a video on budgeting previously, so I won't go into any detail here. But the first thing to remember is to pay yourself first, so save, or if you're focusing on debt repayment, service your debt, pay your debt off. And whether you're saving or paying off debt or doing both will depend on your focus. That will be a decision that you have to make. Okay, this may be tough for some, but if this is your problem area, definitely necessary. And that is to cut up or cancel your credit cards. Now, if you are an online shopper, I'm really sorry, but you are going to have to cancel your credit cards because cutting them up is not going to be a physical barrier to you spending money online. If you think you're the kind of person that can actually just leave your credit card in a drawer for emergencies, that's no problem. And if you're also the kind of person that can delete all of your credit card numbers off Amazon and any other online retail store so that you can't just click and buy immediately, then again, that's fine. But if you're not that person, if having a credit card is a complete temptation for you, then you're going to have to get rid of the actual card so you can no longer use it. Now, I understand for some, there may be some anxiety, some worry about getting rid of your credit card because you may want to use it for emergencies, especially if you are in debt already. And what I would say here is that when you are, again, break a record, setting up your budget, prioritize savings so that you can build a cash buffer so that if anything happens, you have actual cash to pay for that thing. Once you have your cash buffer, get rid of the credit cards until you're in a position to reintroduce them. When you are ready to reintroduce your credit card and you want to start spending on it again because you want points or cash back, etc., you need to be in the mindset to be using your credit card like a debit card. You spend money on your credit card because it's money that you have. It's not free money the bank is giving you. So at the end of each month, you pay the card off. But until your mindset is there, where you understand how to use a credit card in the most financially healthy way, we're going to just have to get rid of them. Now, if you have credit card debt, of course you can't close down the account, but you can get rid of the card so that you can't make the debt worse. The next thing that I think would be worth trying to help you today is to stick to cash. In the last video, I talked about the fact that using plastic takes away the pain associated with spending money, and that also it allows you to overspend little by little without actually seeing what the impact of that overspending is until the end of the month when you run out of money, or when you're now in your overdraft, or you've spent money on your credit card that you don't have the money to pay off. Or with cash, you can physically see how much money you have and how much that money reduces with every purchase. So the next time you have a night out planned or you're going to the shops, pull out the amount of money that you've budgeted and leave your cards at home. If you reach the limit of your cash, you'll have no option but to stop because you've got nothing left to spend. Give it a try and see how quickly you come to your limit, and see how often you would have spent a bit more because it was easier to overspend and break your own rules than it was to apply some discipline because what would other people say, or oh, you just want that thing so it's worth it right now. Now, I've never used this method, but you could try the envelope system where you take all of your expenses for the week and you pull out the money on a Sunday evening and you put it in an envelope. That envelope becomes your bank for the week. So you may have an envelope for lunches, you may have an envelope for grocery shopping, may have an envelope for entertainment. If you find yourself overspending and running out of money for the week, it will force you to become more creative and resourceful, but it will also help you confront your relationship with money. If using cash is not convenient for you, consider using a Monzo card instead. I sound like a broken record here, but once you set your monthly budget, you can move your disposable income to your Monzo current account for you to play with. So for those of you that don't have a Monzo current account, Monzo will categorize any payments that leave your account into buckets such as transport. And the great thing about these categories is that you can actually set a spending limit in the account to stop you from spending more than you have budgeted. All well and good setting a budget, but you have to have a hard stop sometime. You either have to do it mentally and say, nope, I've tracked and I know, or you need something that stops you from doing it. And Monzo might be the answer to that. But I will say, as a word of caution, if you are going to use Monzo's spending caps to budget certain categories, be mindful to track how much you spent so far, because the worst thing that can happen is you go into a store, you go to spend, and you've hit your limit already. You don't want to be embarrassed, and you don't want to be forced to pull out another card, complete that transaction just to prove that you have the money. You don't want to do any of that. So this one is a really easy one, and that is just to unsubscribe from all marketing emails, whether it be clothing, whether it be restaurants, whether it be games, whether it be activities. Unsubscribe so you are not tempted by the sale emails that, oh my God, amazing discount, one day only. Oh my God, this is the new must-have trend thing. Get rid of all of the marketing emails because it's effectively window shopping in your inbox. If you see it, you might be tempted to go and check it out. While you're on that tab, it's so easy for you. It's so easy for you to just then complete a transaction and you've bought something. So remove the temptation, delete the emails. So my next recommendation is to try a no spend challenge. Years ago, when I was tapping into the power of budgeting and being intentional with my spending habits, I did decide to go completely cold turkey on shopping. I just had enough stuff. I didn't need any more. So for me, that meant no clothes, no shoes, no stuff. I completely stopped going into shops. Now at the time, I didn't think about it as a no spend challenge. I just told myself to stop shopping mindlessly, and that for me, the easiest way to do that was to go cold turkey. However, when I look back on it now, it easily could have been called a no spend year. So if you really do have a spending problem or you want to challenge yourself, go for a 30-day no spend challenge. You spend nothing other than groceries and essentials. I would just add to that actually and say that if you have a very specific problem, so you know that you spend too much money on drinks when you go out, or you have a very specific habit for going out for dinner or getting takeaways 3 or 4 times a week, or you have a clothing habit, do a no spend challenge on that specific problem area. You can keep the rest of your life the same as long as you don't start compensating. So if you spend a lot of money on clothing, don't suddenly start spending that money on eating out. The idea is to not spend the money, see how much money you've saved at the end. Now the next thing you can try is to delay gratification. If you decide to complete a 30-day no spend challenge or an extended no spend challenge, when you come off it, something that might help you keep up the momentum that you've built is to impose a 2-day or a 48-hour rule, or even a 1-week rule. And that is, if you see something that you want to spend money on, or if there's a place that you want to go, you have to delay physically completing the transaction for 48 hours, for 1 week, or even, if you really want to challenge yourself, 30 days. If you set this rule, you will likely have forgotten about the thing that you would have spent money on by the time you get home, or by the next day. That tab will still be open on your laptop, but actually the need to have it will wane. And after a couple of hours, a few days, or even a few weeks, you likely won't want it. So by the time you actually complete the purchase, you will have thought about it, it would have resonated with you, it will mean something to you. It will actually be adding to your life as opposed to taking away money. So the next thing you can consider to break the habit of overspending is to look at cheap or free alternatives to the things you've always done. You remember that buddy we talked about a little while ago? Get that buddy to come over to your home, bring a bag of popcorn, a bottle of wine, and watch a movie on TV, Netflix or something. If you like eating out a lot, but you want to curb how much you spend on that, encourage your friends to come over to you, or you go to your friends and do a potluck. Everybody bring a dish. You can set up a restaurant experience. You can try variety without restaurant costs. If you know you're out meeting friends and you have some time to kill, rather than going window shopping, which may lead to purchases, always have a book with you or a podcast so you can find a quiet place to sit in a coffee shop and listen to something or read something. You can while away the time for free rather than spending money while you're waiting. So many alternative options to the things that you do today that incur you a lot of cost. It could be as simple as you desperately want to spend some money online. So instead of doing that, you pick up the phone and you have a gossip with your friend. Be creative, but find other ways of enjoying your life and fulfilling those needs without spending money. My next tip is to work out how much it costs in work time. Now, it doesn't matter if, like me, you get paid monthly with an annual salary. you can still work out how many days in a year you work and then how many hours in a day you work, and do a quick calculation to work out how much you're paid per hour. So now that you have that figure in the back of your mind, every time you go to make a purchase, work out how long it takes you to make that amount of money at work and figure out if that is worthwhile to you. So if you have a £50 item and you know you get paid £5 an hour, let's say as an example, it's taken you 10 hours, so just over a day's worth of work for most people to make the money to buy that thing. Now you have to decide if that thing is worthwhile to you. And if it is, perfect, buy it, because then it's been worth that time at work. But if it isn't worth it, you leave that thing alone and you keep that money in your pocket. So my next tip is to avoid temptation. Try to avoid situations where you are going to be tempted to spend money, where you are going to find it difficult to say no. So if there is a night out that's been arranged and you know you can't afford it, or you know that the amount of money you have available for a night out, which is £50, but the restaurant that they want to go to and the bar they want to go to after that, and maybe followed by a club, is going to end up costing £150, you're going to have to say no. Unless you can talk to your friends about doing something cheaper, finding a cheaper alternative, or meeting them after dinner at the bar but not going to the club. You can find ways to make it work, but if you know that you can't, you're going to have to say no. I know from personal experiences that many of these tips will be challenging to introduce, and once you've introduced them and you're living them, some of them will be quite painful. You will want to spend more money, you will want to break some of your rules, but they will be worth it in the end. So because I know all of these things, the final thing I'll say to you is set a short-term financial goal and use all the things I've discussed in this video to help you achieve it so that we can get our first win. Okay, so we know what our long-term life goals are. We know what our vision for our life looks like. We know our values, we know our principles. We have our friend, our family member, or a professional helping us talk through how we feel and relate to money. We've got somebody there who is making us feel more confident and normal about spending less and being more frugal, helping us with our budgeting, and just supporting our journey into being more financially literate. You may decide that you want to use the no spend challenge to save an extra £100, £200, £300 in a month. You may decide that you want to pay down £100, £200, £300 worth of debt using the no spend challenge. Getting the taste of that first win is always so sweet, as us Nigerians say. And if you're anything like me, once I get a win, I want another win, and I want to keep going and keep going and keep going. Once I've got evidence and proof that something works, I'm like, I'm going to try it again. And I keep trying and I keep trying, and it builds and builds and builds. That momentum keeps building until suddenly your financial habits serve the life that you genuinely want to live. And you can get out of debt, and you can build your savings, and you can start looking at the next phase of your life, which may be investing, building a family, buying a home, retiring early, whatever it may have been that was in your vision for what you want your life to look like. So let's start small. We're not going to break these cycles overnight. One small thing won't do it, but it's about taking intentional action every single day until a point where you look back and you say, oh my gosh, look what I've achieved. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do drop down in the comments and let me know what your short-term financial goals are, what you're hoping to achieve in the next few weeks, in the next month, 2 months, probably 3 months max. And then hopefully in a few months' time, you can come back to this video and say, Frugaliffy, look what I achieved. Anyway, if you found this video useful, please do give me a thumbs up and share it with friends or family that you think could benefit from it. Anyway, until next time, thanks. Bye.